This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All Star Vacation Homes. And if you're planning a trip to Walt Disney World and you want a lot of space for not a lot of price, All Star Vacation Homes is a great value for you. They have lots of different homes in various sizes that can accommodate families of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 14, even more than that, really. They have houses of all different sizes and different amenities also. Some people want a private pool. Some people want a full-size kitchen. Some people want the movie room, the game room, cool bedrooms, or you know what? A mix and match of all of those and more. Well, you know what? All-Star Vacation Homes website, it lets you pick the perfect house for you. And again, regardless of which house you choose, the price is hard to beat. Check them out online at allstarvacationhomes.com.
Bringing the world to your world, this is Walt Disney World Today. Here are Mike Scopa, Len Testa, Mike Newell, and your host, Matt Hochberg.
It's Friday, April 1st, 2011, and this is episode 858 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hochberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for alleyears.net. Welcome, Mike.
Don't move a muscle.
Mission Space.
Mission Space. Gary.
Still haven't seen it.
Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Happy April Fool's Day, Mike.
Is it? Oh, man. And, you know, just for that, I'm going to annoy a great many people today. I thought it'd be kind of fun.
What a classic.
Just got flagged.
I guess the rule of thumb today is don't believe anything you read online. Just any links you see, just assume it's all false until Saturday.
Exactly.
And a man who loves that song more than anyone on the show, it's Henry Work, a developer for touringplans.com. Welcome to the show, Henry.
Thank you, Matt. I mean, 45 million views. How could you be wrong?
Wow.
It's so good.
It's up to 70. It's up to 70 million views. That's how.
On today's show, we are talking about something, interesting topic that Mr. Scope has brought to the table. So, Mike, why don't you tell our listeners first about the premise and then into the actual idea that you have? Because the idea actually for the show, we don't even know what it's about yet, the three of us.
It's always good to have a show in which we don't do any show prep and see what kind of spontaneity is generated from a certain kind of an idea. So what I'd like to do is I like to call this podcast potluck, the potluck podcast, or one of several that we'll do hopefully over the next year or so. And it involves one of us coming up with an idea for Walt Disney World. And that idea could be something that we would like to tweak just a little bit. And then that would spawn a discussion on what kind of an impact that little tweaking would have on the guest experience, on our experience, on touring habits, and all that kind of jazz. So are you guys ready?
Yeah, so Mike, you have the tweak for this episode.
I have the tweak, yep.
And Mike, myself, and Henry do not know what it is. So why don't you present to us what your idea is, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I want you guys to think about what kind of an impact would occur if they did not turn on the FastPass distribution times until noon.
So no fast passes. The first fast pass of the day won't be available until noontime.
You cannot. They don't even uncover them till noon. What kind of an impact will it have on each of the theme parks? What kind of an impact would it have on the user experience? Would it be good? Would it be bad? Would it be well received? Would it be not well received?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic because, I mean, I know that this topic is kind of not this exact one, but you know the idea of fast pass or not to fast passes come up many times. And, you know, I think I've over the years become one of those people like that is of the opinion that I actually prefer things without fast pass in general. I think that the standby lines tend to be shorter that way. So I would love it. I would love the opportunity to be able to, for the attractions to have the longest waits like Soarin', Toy Story Midway Mania, Expedition Everest, without a fast pass line to contend with, the capacity for the standby lines would dramatically increase, which would then result in shorter standby times in the morning. Wouldn't you agree, Henry?
Definitely. I mean, you wouldn't have the Toy Story Fast Pass, like huge queue right after rope drop. People would immediately go into the attraction, whoever got there at rope drop, and they would have a much more efficient touring. I mean, the wait times would be lower right before noon until like 12:45 or 1 when people would actually be able to start redeeming them.
Yeah. What do you think of Mike's idea?
You throw me a curveball, Scopa. I was assuming it had something to do with Fast Pass, but the whole noon thing is really interesting, right? I mean, obviously, people get there early, right? The people who get there early have lots of advantages right now. They get there early, they get Fast Passes, they can hit lots of attractions before the crowds build. But if they can't get Fast Passes, that only limits them to be able to see the attractions early in the day. Like literally for the first hour or so of park touring, Fast Passes don't come into play because no one's redeeming Fast Passes at 9. You typically can't redeem them until 9:45, and then probably for the first like hour and a half, 2 hours, people don't even redeem Fast Passes, right? They typically hold on to them and wait until later in the day. Whereas if I got there rope drop and I was able to go to Space Mountain and then get a Fast Pass for 9:45 a.m. and then immediately get one for Peter Pan and be able to even get I could even theoretically get 3, maybe even 4 Fast Passes before noon. Now, if I didn't have those, I think it would definitely affect the Uber, it would affect my touring patterns for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of families out there that always tell me the same thing when we come up with this topic, which is, even like for Toy Story Midway Mania, which averages, I mean, a 60-minute wait is what we would consider a low wait time for Toy Story, right? And if I were to tell you, well, no Fast Pass till noon, and you're looking at wait times probably like 30 minutes or so, 30, 40 minutes. And a lot of people say, well, my family, we can't wait in line for 30 or 40 minutes with our children or our kid or, somebody in there. That's not an option. So I know a lot of people would still find that amount daunting, and they would that would actually be a negative to you. What do you think, Mike? What do you think of Scopa? Newell, sorry. What do you think of Mike's idea?
Well, someone who doesn't typically get there at rope drop, see, I would just work around it if that was the case. I'm not running I'm not the type that runs to the big attractions early on. So after 12, I think I'd be okay with that. But that's me. That's how I tour. So it's a little different than, what you guys do.
No, but theoretically, this would help you, right? So if you just rolled up around 11 a.m., you wouldn't walk over to Soarin' and the Fast Passes wouldn't be gone. They wouldn't have even started distributing it.
Right. So when you put it that way, it will help me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what you're initially thinking, Sopa, that it would help the less commando tours of Disney World?
I think it would balance out the crowds a little bit because, I think it would help the person who is not a rope drop person like Mike because when he gets to the park and he goes to Toy Story Mania to get a Fast Pass, well, guess what? He can get one at 11:30 instead of how it is now when pretty much the distribution runs out before 11:30. So I think it helps him. I think that it doesn't impact the early bird as much as you would think because I think that what would happen is that people would tend to migrate towards the Mike Newell approach, knowing that, hey, I can't get the Fast Pass till noon anyway, so I might as well sleep in. So that actually will help the early birds because they don't have to deal with those contenders for the attraction. So I think that what Matt said helps. What Matt said is correct. I think that the standby lines, I think the waiting lines overall would be shortened, at least in the morning. And then in the afternoon, things would be, interesting again with the Fast Pass there. I guess one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys about this would be which of the 4 theme parks would this impact the most?
I think actually I was just gonna ask a question about that, Mike, because I think actually a theme park that this makes the most sense for would be Animal Kingdom.
Yes, exactly.
And the reason I say that, the reason I was leaning towards that is Animal Kingdom's always been a park where it's got that half day perception, right or wrong, and in fact, an Animal Kingdom constantly tries to tweak its schedule to force people to stay longer. Like they're the only park now that has their parade past 3:00. They're just at 3:45. And why do they do that? Because they want people to stay in the park longer. Because after that parade, man, people just leave an exodus from the families, especially because it's like, well, we've done everything. There's no reason to stay here any longer. And So if you add now this fast pass option that Mike is proposing, where at noon, I mean, now you're having your fast pass return times won't be until much later in the day, and that would, I would think, I mean, this is just my gut feeling, would be that people would stay longer in the park because they've got their fast passes. That their fast passes are only good in until 3, 4, 5 o'clock, whatever it may be, and thus I would think more people would stay longer in the park. Henry, what do you think about that?
All right, so if I was going to Animal Kingdom and I wanted to ride everything, and the fast passes, I couldn't get any fast passes until noon, what would I do? I'd probably, the 3 attractions that you ostensibly need fast passes for are Everest, Safaris, and Dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
The only other one that it actually provides is Primeval Whirl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there is one over there.
Right. And Kali River Rapids. So I don't know how I would do that. I mean, literally, I think I could still, Animal Kingdom, unless it's a really busy day, my guess is that you can still hit every attraction before noon.
Yes.
If you don't try to squeeze in a show or two. But what I might do is I might try to, because I hate waiting in line more than like 15 minutes usually. So I'd probably hit Everest and then because it, I get there 30, 40 minutes before rope drop. I'd hit Everest immediately because it's a lot quicker of an attraction than Safaris. Because like if you go to Safaris first, you're going to go on a 20-minute attraction. Walking through the queue practically takes 20 minutes itself. And then you're going to have, the whole unloading process, and then you'll eventually get over to Everest, but that might not be until like if the park opens at 9 to like 9:30, 9:40. At that point, Everest is long. So I would do Everest first and then run over to Safaris. Then after that, I might just go do shows. I might say if Dinosaur or Kali River Rapid is more than like a 20 or 30 minute wait, I might skip it and wait till noon until I get fast passes for those. The really interesting thing is, do you guys think that people would line up immediately at 11:45? Like if I was waiting for Toy Story Fast Pass, I might say it's better to wait in the Fast Pass line for Toy Story for 20 or 30 minutes than wait 60 minutes on standby.
That's a good question. Wow.
So like you almost you almost create this, when people are going to get fast passes in the morning, that's not that big of a deal because, you can get them immediately and most people don't think to get fast passes right at rope drop. But if you move it till noon, there's going to be a lot of people being like, the fast pass distribution is opening soon. I must congregate.
Yeah, and if that could actually bring about another idea that Disney toyed with a couple different times. You guys might remember, this probably happened, I think, a year or two ago, a couple times, where in Animal Kingdom, they centralized the Fast Pass distribution.
Oh, yeah.
And that might be something that they would kind of work with. Like, let's pick a dead corner of the park, especially at that hour. Because obviously, you want to avoid a situation where, like Henry's proposing, where this huge mega line breaks out for half an hour in front of the popular attractions. And, they put up the centralized look. That way you don't have to worry about, crisscrossing the park necessarily. And, I would imagine you're right, Henry. People start showing up early. People show up early for, backlot tour when it opens at, 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. in the morning. So you're going to get a line no matter what. But I would probably say, I think you're definitely going to see a line developing there. What do you think about all this scope? I mean, you're asking the questions. What's your thoughts on some of this?
Well, here's the thought. So let's say you're over at Everest and you're looking at the standby line, and the standby line is, let's say, 45 minutes, and it's 11:45. Do you go into the standby line or do you go get a fast pass? Because what would be the first, Henry, you'd probably know this. What would be the first distribution time for the very first fast pass? Would it be 45 minutes after 12 o'clock? Would it be 1 o'clock? What do you think?
Yeah, it's tweak it. The lowest is always 40. I've never seen it distributing for 35 minutes ahead of time. So it's between 30, but between 40, and I've actually seen up to 65 minutes in advance sometimes. Like Big Thunder Mountain will open at 9 and the first distribution will be for like 10:05. So it's around there. And it seems like they tweak it based on, I don't know what they tweak it based on the crowd forecasts, or I don't know how exactly they formulate it. It doesn't seem like it's consistent.
So wouldn't you love just to watch the people trying to figure out what to do? It's almost like when the Tower of Terror opened up. I remember I was there when it opened up for the first day, and I can remember being down at the end of Sunset Boulevard, and there would be these families, and there would be like a young family. So the dad would probably be in his I don't know, early 30s or mid 30s. He's got little kids. He's got like 2-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and the mom. And he's looking up there and he's thinking, oh man, I'd like to go on there, but I don't want to leave the family. And it's the same thing with the fast pass. It's like, do I get into the line or do I get a fast pass? So it's really interesting. I think for most people, I think they would get the fast pass and then just do something else. And then when it's ready to go, then they go back to Everest. I think that's how most people would. You would think most people would act, but it'd be interesting to see what would go on just in front of that fast pass distribution area.
Well, the more I think about it, the more it seems to benefit, I would say, the majority of Disney World guests, because the majority of Disney World guests don't show up to the park at park opening. They'll show up after the park opens, like, somewhere between 10 and noon time or so. It's probably prime time for guests arriving. If you don't believe me, try arriving at the park at 8:45 and try arriving at the park at 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. It's a zoo at 10 or 11, and at park opening, it's very easy to get in terms of parking or on the bus or getting through the turnstiles. And so by moving the first time for fast passes, I would think it would benefit a lot more guests, because all the people who prefer not to get out for park opening, the Mike Newells of the world, those people would be able to now they would actually have a benefit for showing up later, because now they're not I guess they're a little bit less behind the 8 ball, so to speak.
Would doing this make extra magic hour mornings more attractive? Would Disney see this as a way of putting more heads in the beds? Hey, we don't have fast pass till 12 o'clock, but if you stay on the property, you get in an hour early.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, let me throw one more thing out there, which is, like, let's say on a specific day, Soarin' fast passes run out by like 1 p.m. right? Like, typically the two attractions to the fastest fast pass rate, which is how we measured in touring plans, like how quickly the fast passes are distributed, are Toy Story and Soarin', right? So when like Toy Story's fast pass can run out before 10 a.m. on a given day, like, one, I think you're gonna have serious operational issues if you distribute it all at noon, because so many more people are going to be in the park. If all those people go to try to get fast passes at one time, you're going to have serious lines. Like, can you imagine like the scrum that would be inside Soarin'? Like, Soarin' is already like the most crowded fast pass place to get fast passes. I just imagine like the line roping all the way around the land pavilion right around noon every day. But my one theory that I might have is that if you distribute it at 9 a.m. or noon, they still might run out at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just the rate of distribution would be so much quicker. If you got there at noon, you might get there. You might get your fast passes. They might all be gone within an hour, or maybe even like 15 minutes instead of a few hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about the line. You're right. I mean, almost the two attractions you mentioned, I think, are going to be the biggest issues, because you're going to have huge lines developing for it, and that's why I kind of thought initially earlier on in the episode that this would be a great idea for Animal Kingdom, more so than perhaps the other 3 parks. Again, because Disney's always trying to keep guests in the park longer over there than probably any other park, because they want people leave so early. Right. But yeah, I totally agree. I could definitely foresee huge mega lines. And I was saying, well, you could do centralized fast pass somewhere in the parks, but people don't listen to that. They're going to show up to Soarin'. What do you mean there's no fast pass here? The machines are right there. No, sir, you have to go over to this place. That'll never work. You're just creating more of a problem than solving one.
Right. So it'll certainly help if you get there not at rope drop, but it might not help if you get there at like 3 o'clock. You know what I mean? By 3 o'clock, Soarin' fast pass are going to be gone no matter what.
Let me ask you this, Scopa. I mean, you proposed this idea. Do you actually think it's a good idea?
I think it's worth trying. I think that I would not try it during the busy season. I'd probably try it. During the month of September, maybe. Maybe I'd try it during the first or second week in April, just to see. And I do it on one park at a time. I wouldn't do it at all 4 parks in one day, just to see what kind of what kind of impact it has on the guests. I think, though, that to really evaluate and assess how it would impact, you need to do it for an extended period of time to see what kind of behaviors it creates. So I think it would work for the. I think it helps the Mike Newells of the world who don't want to get their rope drop, but still want to be able to go on the attraction that they're going to that park for. I think it also helps those who are going early, because I think that what's going to happen is that those early birds who are true early birds are going to continue going, and the ones who aren't true early birds, but we're going to Disney World, we got to get there early. Those kinds of people, those types may now say, we don't have to get up early, we're on vacation. So I think it helps both factions there. So my thought is that it just gives more people a chance to. I think that a different part of the guest universe will now have the opportunity to get that Toy Story Mania Fast Pass. Will be able to get that Soarin' Fast Pass. Won't have to stand in line for an hour and 15 minutes for Soarin' in the afternoon. So I think it could be a win-win situation, but I really think that it would take a while to fully judge that. And I'm not sure if you should do it during the summer. I would do it in the fall. I would do it from mid-August to mid-October to give it a shot.
What do you think, Newell? Do you like the idea?
I don't know if it's so much that I like the idea. It's best for what works better for who. Like in my case, it would work better for me, but maybe in the family that only gets to go one time, that are there at 8:30 in the morning, it might not work for them. So I guess it just works. It depends on how you look at it.
Well, would you, if you're Bob Iger, do you say, yes, let's do this?
I'd definitely try it. I would definitely give it a shot. If anything, right. It'll bring some really interesting data. How people, tour. It's for that reason alone, I would try it.
Okay. I mean, I think it's worth trying. I agree with what you just said, Newell, and what Scopa said. I think it's worth giving it a try simply because it's kind of an interesting idea. And I agree with Scopa that it probably is. It would be something to, as a trial, probably pick a park, probably pick, like he said, a slower time of the year because it makes more sense rather than just kind of like throwing the entire resort into some sort of a beta test. But I think I think the idea has merit, and I think it would present some interesting things. And like I said, I think actually the people who benefit from the most are the majority of theme park visitors who show up late, don't have touring plans, and would prefer to have that kind of a touring strategy. Henry, I'll let you have the last word on this.
I would definitely not do it, mostly because I think everyone should show up at Rope Drop. No, I think it's really interesting. I think the biggest thing that I would be curious about is does it actually affect the time that fast passes run out? Right? Does it mean that fast passes run out a few hours later, like 6 hours later, or just like 15 minutes later? And then I also think that the operational issues, especially for certain attractions, of doing this whole like 12 p.m. Like it's like imagine Rope Drop, the craziest Rope Drop that you've ever been to. If you've been to like Toy Story Mania or the Run to Splash or Space Mountain or whatever back in the day, imagine that like times 10. That's what I think the distribution would be at noon every day. So I don't know.
Very good. Well, don't forget to share your thoughts with us at wdwtoday.com, and there you can post your comments and let us know if you think that moving the first Fast Pass distribution time to noontime is a good idea or not. And our sponsor for today's show is All Star Vacation Homes, and it's always a great idea to try out All Star Vacation Homes because they've got such great houses for very little cost. In fact, it's such a great value. They have so many different options. You really have to go to their website, see what they have available, plug in your dates, plug in, what your family's into, and you know what? You're going to find a lot of great options for you to choose from. Check them out right now at allstarvacationhomes.com. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, you can visit us online at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, Mike Newell, and Henry Work, I'm Matt Hotchberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.